We continue with the explanation of chapter number 3 of geography. We had discussed the conventional sources of energy. Now in this lecture, we will discuss the non-conventional sources of energy. Now the question arises is, when we have naturally occurring elements and over a period of time we have been using the conventional sources, what is the need to use a non-conventional source of energy? Well, due to increasing demand because of the rise in the population, the demand for power, for energy has also increased. So as a result of that, what are we doing? We are overburdening our natural reserves, causing the depletion of it, in turn actually affecting ourselves. So whatever energy is available in the Mother Earth, like naturally it's available, how do we convert that particular energy to suit our requirements are the non-conventional sources of energy. Firstly, to know why are we using this, we need to know the advantages of this particular source of energy. They are pollution free, they are eco-friendly. We derive that energy from the elements of nature only. So they don't create pollution. Okay, some of them are very easy to access, very easy. And some of them are lesser in economic stature, like I would say less money is required to extract energy from this kind of source. And because it's available in abundance, we can use it over a long period of time. We need not worry about the energy coming to an end. That's a particular source coming to an end because they are continuously available to us. So let's dig into first source of energy, that is solar energy. As the word suggests, solar, from class 6 you've been learning, class 5 also, solar is related to sun. Now sun is a massive ball of burning gases. Okay, it radiates heat. Now when we need that particular energy, how do we convert it? You must have seen on the top of the homes a parallelogram shaped structures like this, which have a grid system kind of thing. These are called solar panels. Okay, these are called solar panels. They are kept facing towards the sun, where maximum amount of heat light can be captured. So when the light gets captured, it heats up the solar panel, and in the solar panel there are cells. Now those cells actually convert that heat energy into electricity. And then this particular electricity is used in various ways, both for industrial purposes as well as for home. Domestic purposes also and industrial purposes also. Industrial purposes, solar panels are used to light the system. Okay, wherever abundance of sunlight is available, so we use the solar energy over there. So to heat up the element, to warm the, if some steam is required, then warm the water, even then solar energy is taken into consideration to light up. You must have seen pole lamps also having a small solar panel. Throughout the day that particular solar energy is absorbed, and then at night the light glows. So solar energy is used for, solar cookers are also available. You can cook food by keeping that solar cooker in the sun, and then because of the heat you can cook food. There are geysers available, hot like water to bathe, and for various purposes wherever hot water is used, solar energy actually warms up the water. So many uses of this solar energy. You and I also know that sun has massive energy in it, and depletion of it is far beyond our thought. So this can be used as this is being used as a non-conventional source of energy. Now let's go with the age-old one. This is quite interesting because this is an old non-conventional, or I can say wind energy. Non-conventional source, wind energy. Now if you have been lucky to see, if you have seen a windmill, it looks something like that. It has got big blades. Big, huge, like your fan has got right at home. Huge blades. And these windmills are placed where it's very breezy, especially coastal areas. If you've been to Kanyakumari, you must have seen while traveling in a train along the railway line, there are thousands of windmills. Because coastal areas get the maximum breeze, and where mountains also there, we can see the windmills. Now what happens over here? When the wind gushes, it moves these fans, these blades, and when the movement is very rigorous, there are turbines located down which convert that movement's energy into electricity. Now in olden age, like people used to use windmills to ground wheat. Aata banate the wo, chakki, that particular thing, the mill would be used to ground wheat and make flour. And even windmill was used to fetch water, like I said, goal buckets would be there, and then that would be moved also because of the windmill, and the water would be scooped out by the bucket and thrown in the other direction. Windmill again is used to create electricity, where sources of electricity are less, but the wind is available, so we can plant a windmill over there and generate electricity. Now can we fall short of wind? No. Okay, now comes a very interesting part. Nuclear power. You must have not even heard of it. I will be sending you an extra YouTube video with this for you to understand better. Now in this particular thing, we are talking about two substances, uranium and thorium. Uranium and thorium. Now two substances which are available in Mother Nature Earth. Okay, nature. It's available in nature. In India also has reserves of uranium and thorium. Now what are these actually? These are categorized under the name radioactive elements. Now why do we call them radioactive? Now you need not go into the depth of it, but I can tell you the gist of it. Every substance in this earth is made of atoms. Like any reactive material is made of atoms. Atoms have in them nuclei. Inside the atom you have nuclei which has got lots of power in it. Okay. Now these nuclei, when they go and come in contact with another nuclei, they join first and then they split. That process is called fission. Nuclear fission. Now when fission takes place, they emit energy, and that energy is used by us to create electricity. So you have nuclear plants in India also. Kalpakam is one of the examples. You have in various parts of India nuclear plants where nuclear energy is extracted, because we have reserves of thorium and uranium. So when I send you that particular video, very clearly you will be understanding what is ma'am talking about. So we store this also, like water is there in a nuclear reactor, and then this particular material is placed in the form of pellets. Pellets means chote tukde of these particular things, and the atoms react and the fission takes place, and when the fission takes place, the energy is released, and that energy is captured by us because it heats up the water in which they are, and that water heating up, the water actually moves the turbine, and the turbine creates electricity. That's the entire process of it. You can see it clearly in the video. Nuclear energy is again used in various ways, like whatever electricity is used as a purpose. That entire thing, for whatever electricity is used, that entire thing can be taken care of these non-conventional resources. The next non-conventional source of energy is geothermal energy. When we had studied about the structure of our planet Earth, we had learned that the center of the Earth is hot molten magma. The core of the Earth is filled with hot molten magma. Now that hot molten magma will definitely create heat. Now when there is a crevice, like these are your tectonic plates, and whenever it has a crevice, that steam comes out, thus resulting in hot water springs. Must have heard about natural hot water springs. The example of a hot water spring where most of the visitors go is Manikaran, on the way to Manali. A few kilometers ahead of Manali is Manikaran. You have Panamic in Leh Ladakh. They are naturally occurring springs where the water boils on its own because it has a crevice from where the entire heat of the core is coming out. Now when the water is boiling on its own, we can use it for many purposes. We can use for bathing, we can use for cooking, we can use the steam to warm up our houses. So that kind of energy is called geothermal energy, which is already occurring in the Mother Earth. It just comes out of some crevice. We cannot extract it. Might be further we'll do it, but when it occurs naturally, we make good use of it. The next one we talk about is tidal energy. Tides are nothing but the waves which occur in oceans and seas. Now how do we extract this one is, wherever the opening of the sea is a little bit narrow, we construct a dam over there. Okay? And the same method will be used, how a hydroelectricity method was taught to you. The same way, a dam would be constructed and would have a turbine. So when there would be high tides, rigorous flow of the water, the turbines would move and the electricity would be produced. So again, all these elements are naturally occurring so beautifully that we can use that particular energy in a very economic way also, and without even worrying that this particular source of energy will come to an end. Next one is very interesting again, biogas. We have degradable things in the mother nature. Degradable means which rot on their own. What come under this category? The dead remains of plants and animals. They rot on their own. Now there are certain things which we use in the kitchen also, the peels of the vegetables and the fruits. So what we do is, for biogas, there is a huge container in which we put all these. The dead plants and the used vegetables, like the peels of the vegetables from the kitchen, and the cow dung of the animals, all this is dumped into that bin. Now when you leave it to rot, it releases, this entire thing releases a gas called methane plus carbon dioxide. Methane is converted into biogas. Methane becomes the biogas. This biogas is used to cook food in the kitchen. most of the villages have adopted this measure and they make good use of the biogas because it's economic. क्या चाहिए आपको उसमें? सिर्फ कूड़ा करकट लाके whatever is biodegradable you need to dump into the vessel over there, and that is how that particular gas will be emitted and you can use it happily. You just need to make arrangements of the plant, the biogas plant once, and then you can continuously use it. And then what happens to the rotten thing? We get manure from it. We get manure. You can use this manure for your as a fertilizer in your organic or in your farm. So these non-conventional resources actually are reducing the burden on the convention which has been levied on the conventional source of energy. So this is how, by using it judiciously and using our brains as to where can we extract the energy from, we can happily strike a balance between the mother nature and the human consumption of energy, so that the mother nature also doesn't suffer and we also get the energy what we need for our day-to-day activities. I'll be sending you a video of your marking of the answers also. Read your chapter thoroughly. If there are any extra things to remember, learn them. Remember, I have told you I am going to take a test. Thank you.